opening Sony's press conference was Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. A new entry in the Uncharted series with following Chloe and Nadine from Uncharted 4. Chloe missing from Uncharted 4, so it's good to see that she's getting her own story. Not entirely sure when this is set. Is this before or after Uncharted 4? And then we're also not sure if it's a full Uncharted game or if it's a kind of a smaller standalone DLC title. Not entirely sure. Still, it's more Uncharted, and Uncharted is very good, so yeah, happy to see this. Moving on, we've got more expansions to already existing games. This is The Frozen Wilds, an expansion for Horizon Zero Dawn. Again, don't know how big this is going to be, don't know what this is going to add to the main game. It seems to be an expansion, a standalone area, maybe. Snow this time, snow robot dinosaur monsters, and volcano that you'll be tackling, I guess. I don't know, I haven't played Horizon yet. I know I'm hearing it's very good, but again, I haven't played it, so I guess I'll wait for like the Game of the Year edition or whatever for this expansion pass to be rolled in. This is Days Gone, showing some gameplay footage. What we're going to assume is gameplay footage anyway. There's no HUD, and a lot of games are doing that this year, so it's kind of hard to tell how much of this is real. But we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, so this is back to back. Last year, Days Gone was announced and they showed off gameplay, and it was very impressive. And they're doing it again this year, so there's no kind of story shredder. Still not entirely sure what the story is, although I'm sure you can work it out. It's just zombies, post-apocalypse. I doubt there's a whole lot to it. I doubt there's a whole lot new to be said. This is really more the technical side and the action side of the game. So they take you through what I'd say is a standard loop for the game. It's start off at the camp, get your mission, drive over to the mission, maybe try to avoid monsters on the way and traps possibly, and you get to the mission site and you begin the mission. So they're showing off the different mechanics. You've got the motorbike, you've got traps, you've got human enemies. There's a bit of melee combat, there's some quick time in there as well, so there's still a bit of Uncharted, there's still a bit of The Last of Us. It's fairly clear that they're using those two engines, so a bit of cross-party support there. And Sony's worldwide studios, you know, Naughty Dog did a lot of good work and they're helping out. Although Sony Bend have done some work on Uncharted as well, so perhaps they have a better relationship than I think. So yeah, showing off a bit of melee, also showing off a bit of the stealth as well. It's very standard, but it looks good. It seems human enemies might be a mistake to try and tangle with them, so using your stealth, using traps, using, you know, anything at your disposal to try and avoid a fight, especially if you don't have any weapons. It's probably a good move. I think the biggest draw, and probably the biggest surprise last year, was how they're handling the zombies in this game. And yes, I know zombies, but try to stay with me, because they are trying to do something different. They're not dealing with them as individual threats, as in one zombie is one threat. This is more the zombies as a group are almost like an environmental hazard, or they're almost like a force of nature in the area, in the level, that really need to be dealt with. They're a lot more like the World War Z zombies, if you like, this kind of moving wrecking ball of human bodies just flailing about, and if you're caught in it, you're done. You know, that's it. There's no fighting your way out of it. And it's interesting, you know, using flocking mechanics and things like that. And I suppose from a personal standpoint, I've done work on kind of flocking in real-time engines and things like that, so that's quite interesting to me. I'd like to see how it handles in a proper AAA title, where it's not just used for stage dressing. They use it a lot for like flocking for birds and things like that, just to give the area a bit of variety. But here it seems to be a proper mechanic, so I'm interested to see how that goes. And this game is looking quite impressive, so I'm looking forward to this. Here's Monster Hunter World. So, Monster Hunter launched originally on the PS2 back in 2004, and then kind of disappeared from Sony consoles anyway. There's a few of them on the PSP, a lot of entries releasing only in Japan, and then the series kind of migrated over to Nintendo consoles, so the Wii and 3DS and so on. And again, Japan only entries. So it's been a while for Monster Hunter on PlayStation. This is kind of a big deal. I played the original Monster Hunter. If you're not familiar with it, if you're not familiar with the series, it's kind of a survival game, where the title might imply you are hunting monsters, and you use their remains, their meat, their scales, their hide, their bones, whatever, and you use that to make better equipment. You know, use it to make a better sword, or a better crossbow, better armor, so on. Use the meat for health and things like that, or you use some other items to sell and, you know, get money, and you can use that to make, or buy better materials to make better things and so on. And that's the loop. And the fun in the game comes from hunting specific big game. You know, they have their own specific requirements, you know, bait and so on, traps and things like that. It's a lot of fun. The original was a lot of fun, if a little janky. It didn't really click with me. I guess I kind of need a little bit more direction in my games than just, here's a thing, go do it. So it didn't quite click with me, but I know Monster Hunter has a massive following. So it's good to see it on PS4, and it's good to see it getting a big entry again. I think a lot of people will be happy with it, hopefully. Although this is the internet, I'm sure someone is saying... Okay, finally a big surprise, and I'm super happy with this one. So this is Shadow of the Colossus on PS4, and this isn't the HD version, this isn't the remastered version, this is a full-on remake of Shadow of the Colossus for PS4. I'm super happy, and I did not even know this was in development. So, Shadow of the Colossus is one of the best games of all time. And this is not my opinion, this is objective fact. And I think the only thing that puts people off going back to it is its control scheme. And this remake is going to address that, so hopefully better controls. It already looks amazing, and God, this cannot come soon enough. I've been dying to go back to play this game, and now I have a very, very good reason to do so. This is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. So this was a story trailer, so there was no gameplay shown off for this. And they were just kind of setting up the story, or whatever story they're going to have to come up with to explain how Marvel and Capcom have somehow crossed over, and then trying to explain how Capcom is crossing over with its own characters. I don't know. I mean, the vast majority of these do not exist in the same universe. So whatever, I mean, the Marvel vs. Capcom games are shown off to be good, and Capcom is handling the combat. I'm sure it'll be fine. I think the big problem that was pointed out by many people on Twitter and on Reddit is that these character models look really bad. Particularly the faces. The faces of the human characters. They just look terrible. I'm imagining that these are the in-game character models that you would see from, you know, a fair distance away in gameplay and side-on profile, so they probably look fine like that, but when you're zooming in on them, you know, in these kind of cutscenes and they're doing not their combat moves, they're not gonna look great, and it's kind of a bit of a laughingstock at the moment. So hopefully they have enough time to change some of the models around, do something with the faces. I mean, Chun-Li and Dante look awful, just terrible, just really, really bad. So hopefully they can fix that in time. Right, Alright, Call of Duty, World War II, Electric Boogaloo. Apparently they've forgotten that people were bored of World War II games, and that's why the modern games, modern warfare games, came about in the first place. And now they've run Modern Warfare into the ground too. People are bored of the modern setting and the near future setting, so we're going back to World War II. I mean, Battlefield already doing World War I, can't copy them. World War II again. We've run out of ideas officially. Whatever, it's Call of Duty, you're all gonna buy this just to spite me anyway. So then Sony showed off a couple of VR titles. So this is Skyrim in VR. It's kind of a bit of been a bit of an E3 2017 running joke that Skyrim is just running on everything now. But anyway, Skyrim VR on paper seems like a good idea, but there's a lot of questions that need to be asked about this. Is this a standalone title? Is this a toggleable mode in the main game? I think the biggest question is how does it work? You know, if it is a standalone title, is it the full game in VR? You know, have some options been cut out? How do you actually move around? Because if this is using the move sticks or the move peripheral for PlayStation, it has no analog stick for moving. So, you know, how do you move? Is it a click on the ground and you move to that spot kind of thing? Not great. There's still too many questions. There's another VR title. This is Star Child. Again, we don't know what the gameplay here is. It appears to be a side-scrolling kind of platform game. But are you controlling the character or are you controlling the environment? There's some hints that you're probably controlling the environment or in some way helping the character move. Maybe it's akin to something like Lemmings, where the character just moves regardless and you just have to stop them from getting killed, maybe? I don't know. It's the same problem that all VR titles are going to have in their initial presentation. Is basically, what is the actual gameplay? How does it work? And they have not answered that question. Another VR title, this is The Inpatient from Supermassive Games, who did Until Dawn, and I have an LP of that on the channel, and this is the last time I'll plug that. It appears to be a kind of a soft prequel to Until Dawn. There's some elements from the trailer that suggest it's in the same universe. Again, with all the VR titles presented at Sony's conference, we don't know what the gameplay is, and we don't know how you move, we don't know how you interact with things, and so on. It's kind of just giving you a feel that this is some kind of horror thriller thing. It's set in an asylum, so I guess horror is probably more likely. I don't know. We'll keep an eye out for it anyway. Final Fantasy 15 getting its own VR thing, and it's a fishing game. Okay. Kind of the part of Fantasy 15 I hated the most, but alright. I'm just gonna go cry in a corner here for a minute, don't mind me. There's another VR title from Supermassive Games. Hopefully they're not just making VR games now. I hope they don't go down the rare rabbit hole. Now get back to making what they were better known for. Anyway, this is Bravo Team, and this appears to be a cooperative shooter, probably making use of Farpoint's shooting peripheral. I don't know, seems interesting. It seems like it will require a lot from the players. You'll need to, one, have VR, you'll need to have that peripheral, and then you'll need a friend who also has all those things. So, hopefully. This is Moss, again, another VR title. It's a little more explicit this time around that you are very much the helper in the game rather than the mouse in question, presumably named Moss, I don't know. Yeah, it looks like it's a top-down, possibly isometric game, where you are this third party helping this mouse get through the environment, solving puzzles and helping in combat and things like that. Yeah, okay, sounds fine. It's got a bit of a fairy tale aesthetic to it, which I quite like, and the mouse seems quite cute. I think length and quality of gameplay will determine whether or not this gets a look in from me. But, you know, more VR titles are welcome, because there aren't too many of them. There aren't too many full VR games right now. You've really only got Resident Evil 7, so we need more, basically. Moving away from VR titles, this is God of War, making another return to E3. Talking a bit more about the story now. So Kratos is taking his son on a pilgrimage to some kind of Norse mythological place. This may or may not end with a sacrifice of said son, I don't know. That's kind of all we got from the story. Anyway, Norse mythology, basically, instead of Greek mythology, which we kind of knew already, but we have a bit more of it now. Exactly when the story takes place, not entirely sure. It's clearly after the last God of War, but exactly how long, we don't know. Not entirely sure if Kratos has a human lifespan, or he is like a demigod and was a full god at one stage, so who knows what that's on to his lifespan. They showed off a bit more of the combat as well, so anyone worried or hopeful in either measure that it would be more of a Dark Souls type thing, it's quite clearly not. It's still very much many enemies at a time, just tearing through them with combinations and using your different skills. They showed off a couple of different weapons, or we shouldn't necessarily say weapons. The axe is making a lot of play, and he's also got this kind of collapsible shield that he can use as a weapon as well. There are some sections of the game where he doesn't have it, and some sections of the game where he does, so I'm guessing this is something you pick up along the way, and it just gets added to your combat. You can also see his son using his bow and arrow to cause different effects in-game as well. It's all looking good. We've got a release date of early 2018. How early in 2018, I don't know, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I've always liked God of War, I just didn't really like Kratos all that much, because I kind of felt like everything bad that happened to him, he kind of deserved it. And I kind of felt he was having just a bit of a hissy fit for the entire God of War anthology. And he's kind of a dick. And he seems a bit more toned down now, so maybe fatherhood has made him a better character, hopefully. Anyway, I'm looking forward to this. This is Detroit Become Human. This is the latest David Cage, Quantic Dream choice game, and all the bullshit that goes with that. So we're being introduced to the third character. This is Marcus, who appears to be some kind of android revolutionary terrorist. You know, pick your word, pick which side of the battle you're on. And this section was kind of showing off what appears to be a level in the game, or a chapter in the game, where you are trying to break into a shop, an android shop, I guess, and liberate the androids from their oppressors. I don't know, they're machines, they're not exactly being oppressed, but okay. Unless there's some weird plot point where they're actually human, and I don't know. Who knows? Who knows where David Cage goes with his bullshit. I will probably get this and hate myself all the while playing it. I don't know. It obviously looks, and by looks I mean, graphically it looks really nice. Gameplay wise, it's going to be the same. Quick time events and weird analog stick movements. Gameplay wise, more choices and things like that. It's the same. If you've played Indigo Prophecy or Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls, I don't see this being any different. So yeah, I don't know. I'll probably get it. I'll probably platinum it and everything, and hate myself while I'm doing it. But there we are. I really don't like Marcus as a character. I think I might just make choices so that he ends up dying really early in the story, and I don't have to be him. This is your reminder that Destiny 2 still exists, even though they only announced it what feels like a couple of weeks ago. Obviously Destiny 2 had their own big event. Activision, Bungie had their own big event to announce it. It's a big deal for them, so they got out ahead of E3, to get away from all the noise of all the other announcements, so they could say, here's our big game. I play Destiny. I don't play it happily, if that makes sense. You know, I can't get to any of the good stuff, you know, the raids and things like that, because I've no one to play with, and I refuse to play with randomers. So, you know, I've put myself into that position, but there we are. Destiny 2 seems like it will be more of the same. I'm not sure I can bring myself to do that, unless I can get people to play with, you know, I don't know. It appears to have an actual story, and the lore of Destiny was interesting to me, even though its story in the original game was lacking. And then they tried to make up for it in the expansion packs, and I'm kind of enjoying it, so I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on whether or not I'm going to get Destiny 2. So Sony closed out the conference with some gameplay from SpiderMan. Just SpiderMan for the PS4. This is being made by Insomniac. Insomniac make Ratchet & Clank is probably what they're best known for. And Sunset Overdrive recently, but that was an Xbox exclusive. So this is them back on the PS4, making Spider-Man. And yeah, it looks really good. A lot of people are likening the combat and this kind of opening stealth section to the Arkham titles, which isn't exactly incorrect, but at the same time, the Spider-Man games have been doing this for a while. They haven't been doing it particularly well, but this is kind of the style of combat that the games have become known for, so likening to Arkham is kind of a bit short-sighted. It's kind of forgetting the legacy of the Spider-Man games. Even though they haven't been very good, they still have a legacy. You know, it's still something to look at. You know, it's seeming like it looks. Yeah, it looks really good, both graphically and gameplay wise. And Insomniac are you know, a top tier developer, so I expect this game will turn out quite well. There's some concern around this kind of combat and how this stealth section has been going. A lot of it seems, I'm gonna say, baked in for the demo for E3. You know, how much of this is how you would actually play the game, and then similarly, you're only seeing a couple of QuickTime events there, but there are a lot more later on in the gameplay. Like too much. Some people are likening this kind of section, maybe it'll be kind of like Uncharted, in that you'll have like a story-based mission that will be really more of set pieces kind of tied together, which isn't a problem. I mean, Uncharted is well known for those kind of set pieces, and they play out really well. I wouldn't have a problem with that. The only problem would be that the Spider-Man games have become known for, not necessarily known for, but the better Spider-Man games are open world. They're like, here's New York City, go swing around the place. Hopefully that's still intact. You've got the mini-map in the bottom corner, which might imply that is the case. Hopefully that is still the case. Anyway, I'm hopeful that this will turn out really well. It's looking really good. Hopefully none of this is, you know, bullshit for just the E3 demo. Hopefully it is correct. So that was Sony's E3 press conference. Overall, kind of disappointing, to be honest. Most of the big games that they showed off we knew about. There was no big surprise, there was no big reveal, you know, nothing super hype, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but you know, you're kind of watching E3 wanting to go, oh my god, look at this game, it's incredible. And there wasn't really any of that because we knew about most of these games already. Shadow of the Colossus for me is the only big kind of holy shit moment. And even then, I've played Shadow of the Colossus before, and as eager as I am to replay, and I am very much so, to play the remake, you know, it's not new. So there's that. And then overall, the E3 this year has been kind of disappointing, just in general. There's nothing really setting me on fire necessarily. It's Beyond Good and Evil 2 and the Shadow of the Colossus remake, and that's kind of it for me. Any of the big games, again, any of the big games, that were already mentioned that I am looking forward to, we knew about them, so there's nothing super surprising. In the way E3 has become known for this kind of big pageant for hype and, you know, building fans and such for the various consoles and various platforms. Not great this year. Last year was considerably better, the year before that. Maybe we're hitting a kind of mid-generation lull in terms of new games. We've kind of got a lot of developers with their head down, just working on their next titles. From Sony's standpoint, and I'm a big PlayStation gamer, so I kind of know a little bit more about these kind of things. There's a lot of developers missing from the conference. You know, we didn't have very little from Square Enix. Actually, nothing from in Sony. You know, what are they doing? What's the Deus Ex team up to? What's the Tomb Raider team up to? We know what the Hitman team is up to, unfortunately. Nothing about the Final Fantasy VII remake. Kingdom Hearts got a trailer ahead of E3, so I don't know what that's about. You know, and then what's Sucker Punch up to? So Sucker Punch guys make Infamous. I haven't heard from them since Infamous Second Son, so you know, I hope they're working on something good. And then we've got From Software, you know, Dark Souls, Bloodborne. And again, I'm assuming head down working on their next title. Nothing to talk about, which is fine. They've put a lot of work in. I think they deserve a bit of a break. But Sucker Punch have been silent for a long time now, so hopefully they're not... or rather, hopefully they're working on something good. So hopefully they got something to show soon. But yeah, that was E3. Let me know what you thought. I know I didn't do all the conferences. I kind of only did the ones that I have an actual opinion on. You know, Bethesda kind of just rehashed a lot of the stuff they already have, and it's been so long since I've played Nintendo titles that I think my opinions on anything they've got would be, you know, not worth a whole lot. So anyway, let me know what you thought, and if you like this kind of content, and if you'd like to see it again in the future. Thanks for watching.